He is the incredible Huck, Will Huckabee. Huck, how you doing today?
Well, I was doing fine until you just called me the am I Batman or are you Batman?
I said you're the Batman to my Robin. I was giving you the headliner position.
Okay, just checking. With that being said, then I'm doing great. I had a great weekend. Had a lot of miles spent on the road. Had my little wrestling nerd orgasm and stuff, and headed home and stuff. So yeah, it was a great weekend in the world of wrestling.
Well, before we get to that, Killa Kev, our awesome producer here on the Angry Marks Podcast Network, I want you to strike that last thing. I'm going to say that the incredible Huck, Will Huckabee, is the Jimmy Olsen of my Superman. What do you think about that, Huck?
Oh, man. Can I at least be crypto? I mean, because Jimmy Olsen turned into the turtle or something, didn't he? Like, I don't want to be a turtle. Can we stay in the super family?
Why can't he be your Deadpool to your Spider-Man?
Okay. Sure.
Why can't I be the Captain Marvel to your Superman?
Well, that's fine. I was trying to give you full credit earlier, but you seem to not want that. So, all right, we're getting a little nerdy here, which is fine since this is a wrestling nerdcast. But we've got to move on. We've got a great interview lined up today. But before we do that, Huck, I've heard that you had a action-packed weekend. Tell us what's been going on.
First of all, man, was in the call with my buddy Joe Black, and then one of the trainees of the Carolina Wrestling Academy, which is Steve Carino's training center down here in Eastern North Carolina. We traveled to Ripley, Mississippi, for WCEW. Please don't ask me what those initials stand for. Something extreme wrestling. I don't know. We got to hang out with some friends and stuff. Francisco Siatu and his soon-to-be wife, his fiancée Stormy Lee. Hung out with Eric Wayne, the Ugly Ducklings, and everything. So I hung out with them Friday night. Seen a pretty good show and stuff. Actually got a chance to talk to, hold on, I forgot his name now, because last week we talked to Mofo, and we actually got a chance to talk to one of his trainers last week. Derek, I can't remember his name now, it's stuck in my head, bringing up concussions. We got to talk to one of, Mofo's trainers and stuff, and mentioned that we had interviewed Mofo for our podcast. He actually told me to deliver him a message. So that was pretty cool. And then Saturday, I was at Reality of Wrestling. For anybody who knows, that's Booker T Hall of Famer, WWE Hall of Famer, Booker T's wrestling promotion down there in Houston, or actually Texas City, Texas, which is a suburb of Houston. Second generation Sean Studd was there, our good buddy Blake Jones, a lot of other people there. Special guest for the show was Rey Mysterio, Queen Sharmell was there, Stevie Ray was there. Learned a whole lot, learned a big difference between sports entertainment and professional wrestling. That was the biggest thing I learned this past weekend. But got my little wrestling nerd, had my little nerd gathering and stuff, and I actually got to meet Rey Mysterio. It was my first time actually meeting him. A really, really cool guy, man. Like, so cool. Sat there and talked to me for like an hour and stuff. Just answering questions. Not just me, but a lot of people in the back and stuff. Answering questions, giving advice, critiquing matches. Was so great. The bad thing about this weekend was that it was 21 hours on the road between my house and Houston, Texas, if you can believe that. So that's basically, all day Friday, all day Sunday. Sunday, we had a show in Greensboro, North Carolina for 5 Star Pro Wrestling, up there at the Texas Club in Greensboro, North Carolina. So they had a big show, the big return show and everything. Once again, got to hang out with the Ugly Ducklings and Ethan Case and Chip Day. So it was a good weekend, man, full of, hanging out with the boys and stuff and being on the road and giving advice and just, being guys in the car. It was great.
Well, I actually had an opportunity. I was the ring announcer for WCWO here in Indianapolis on Friday night. Got to see some talent I've only seen a few times or not at all. I got to meet the CMLL Reina International Champion, Miss Heidi Katrina. She was quite entertaining, and I looked for big things from her. She's originally from Great Britain, and I think she makes her residence up in Michigan now, so it was great seeing her. And new tag team you need to watch out for. It is former guest of the Undisputed Wrestling Show and a friend of this show, Jonathan Wolf, who's now calling himself IK3, which stands for Indiana Kid the Third, because his grandfather started off as Indiana Kid. His father was Indiana Kid Jr., and now he is IK3, Jonathan Wolf. And he tag teamed with Malcolm Monroe III from the Detroit area, who his father, Malcolm Monroe II, has been on the Undisputed Wrestling Show in the past. So they were calling themselves Generation 3. And I was trying to think if I know of any other tag team of third-generation wrestlers. Now, obviously, Randy Orton is a third-generation wrestler, and Bray Wyatt is a third-generation wrestler. But Bray Wyatt's not billed as that. So, if we're keeping it kayfabe, then he is not a third-generation wrestler. He's just some weirdo from the swamps. So, Huck, can you think of any other tag team of third-generation wrestlers?
I can't think of any other tag team of third-generation wrestlers. I do know that in North Carolina, there is Samantha Starr, who's a third-generation wrestler. Her mother is Baby Doll from, Four Horsemen, Greensboro, Jim Crockett, notoriety. And then her grandfather is Sam Houston, brother to Jake the Snake Roberts. Or father to Jake the Snake Roberts, I'm sorry. So, I guess you could say her and Jake Roberts are technically like brother and sister, I guess.
Yes.
I'm not really sure.
Yes. Killer Kev's got one. He's got Mike DiBiase and Ted DiBiase Jr.
I guess that works. I never knew that they tag teamed together. I don't know that much about Mike DiBiase, but so yes, there's a couple of examples out there, but it's pretty cool to have two guys in their teens and early 20s tagging together that are third-generation wrestlers. So our listeners need to keep an eye out for those guys. Moving on, we've got everybody get out your green circles, get your green leather jackets on, and let's do our 3 count. Will, you ready for a 3 count?
I'm always ready for the 3 count, man.
Okay, count 1. The New Day have retained the WWE Tag Team titles, which they are now calling the Raw Tag Team titles, for over 478 days. So they are the new record holder for the longest reigning tag team champions in WWE history, surpassing Demolition, which Sign Guy wanted us to point out that Demolition's been getting a lot of talking about them in the past couple weeks because of this record coming up. What do you think about the New Day surpassing that, and more specifically, do you admire them for given such a horrible gimmick to start off with, making it their own, and being able to set this record?
First of all, like most people, I really did not like the New Day. I hated the gimmick when it first came out. Excuse me. It seemed very hokey, kind of tinged on racism a little bit, with the whole, there's the vignettes and stuff of them in the church with a huge black church choir and everything, and them kind of giving off the connotation of being like snake oil salesmen, preachers and stuff. But I appreciate and I applaud them for taking what could have been a really, really bad gimmick and making it their own and stuff, and having fun with it at the same time. They were supposed to be started off as heels, and now I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, they're some of the bigger, they're at the top of the babyface mountain, I think. I want to say the only people who are probably bigger babyfaces than them might be John Cena. Their merchandise is everywhere. They got cereal. I mean, Jesus, what else can the New Day sell besides ice cream bars and lunchboxes? With that being said, personally myself, I don't think that they should have broken the record. I know that eventually all records have to be broken. But I think that with Demolition, you have a team like Demolition that's held the record for so long, it's because they were such a very physically imposing tag team. No matter who they faced off and stuff. And of course, then, you know, there's been being that they're your favorite tag team, that they imposed their will on other tag teams physically. They were very, you know, very punishing, hard-hitting, realistic style. With New Day and stuff, you know, some of their wins, you can say, you can kind of put an asterisk aside. I think that they used the Freebird rule very generously, as we've seen, you know, last night where Kofi Kingston wasn't even a part of the match and actually got the pin. So, you know, I think that they definitely used the Freebird rule to their advantage.
Are you talking about the first match?
Yes.
No, the camera didn't show it very well, and the commentators missed it. He'd actually gotten the tag in, a blind tag in to Anderson when he got that pin. So
okay.
he was legal. They just didn't talk about it right on television.
Okay. Well, then I stand corrected. But with that being said, you know, I applaud of course, congratulations for them gaining the trust of not only, you know, Vince McMahon and Triple H, but the entire creative staff over there at WWE, because obviously they've proven that they can carry the tag team division, that they are that they're wrestlers to be trusted in, that they, you know, they've been given the ball to say, hey, look, you're going to be the face of our tag team division. Here's the titles, go run with it, do with it as you will and stuff. So while I might not appreciate, you know, while I might personally would have liked to have seen a more physically imposing tag team hold the titles and break the record and stuff, I have to give props to the New Day and stuff for, you know, taking this title reign and making it theirs.
Yeah, you got to applaud somebody that holds a championship in modern days for a year and a half. You know, eventually everybody's going to have the records, you know, what do records really mean in a sport that's a work? But, you know, I think that their tag team run is better than Dean Ambrose's United States Championship run. He is the longest reigning United States champion in WWE history, you know, and he hardly ever defended it when he was the champ. So I applaud them. I do agree with you that sometimes it might be something physically imposing. A team that's physically imposing would be better. But I do like now that they have that record that they can now switch it up a little bit. I feel so bad for Gallows and Anderson, who just looked pathetic, you know, losing month after month after month because they've been wanting to get this new record set. So hopefully this will open it up and let Gallows and Anderson have a legit shot at taking the championship, or Cesaro and Sheamus, or Enzo and Cass. You know, now that they've got this record over with, then maybe it will free up and make the tag team division on Raw a little bit more exciting. Speaking of tag teams, Count 2 is about the Broken Hardys. On Thursday night, they will be showing the Total Nonstop Deletion instead of Impact. It's all going to be filmed at the Cameron, North Carolina site of the Hardy Boys. And, you know, they've gone on a Twitter spree inviting all these great tag teams to show up. They've been on Ring of Honor recently, doing a segment with the Young Bucks. So I want a bold prediction from you, Huck, about what's going to happen at Total Nonstop Deletion. But before you get to do it, I'm going to say that the Young Bucks are going to show up in Cameron, North Carolina on Thursday night.
Man, you know, this is probably, I would say that right now, Matt Hardy is hitting his creative stride, man. For years, for decades, the focus has always been on Jeff Hardy. And, you know, Matt Hardy was just, you know, for lack of a better word, Matt Hardy was just the other Hardy brother. Technically, he was a whole lot better, but he wasn't as exciting as Jeff was. He wasn't as eye-catching or as flashy as Jeff was. In the last year or so, Matt Hardy has really, like, just been out there, and just all of his creativity has just been flowing and stuff, man. We've seen that with the final deletion match, and then with the rematch, and then him on the Indies. And then, like you said, him showing up at Ring of Honor and cutting that fantastic promo at Ring of Honor. And it's so awesome because he's not just, you know, it's not just indie tag teams that he's laid the challenge out to. He's issued the challenge out to, you know, the New Day, tag teams in Japan, the Young Bucks. I want to say he's sent out invitations to the Rock and Roll Express, to the Brain Busters, or any configuration of the Four Horsemen, to indie tag teams. Before I can even make a prediction, it's like we don't even know all the tag teams who are going to be there. The only tag teams I know for sure, the only two tag teams I know for sure that are going to be there are the Hardy Boys and then the Ugly Ducklings, which is my homeboys, Rob Killjoy and former ROH wrestler Lance Lude from the set. That's the only tag teams that I know is going to be at the final deletion. I have no idea who else is going to be there. But I have to say that this is going to be at the Hardy compound in Cameron, North Carolina. I have to say without a doubt that the Hardy Boys are going to come out on top. I don't even know. Do we even know what the rules for this final deletion is? Is it a round robin? Is it a tournament? Is it a free-for-all? Like, what is the final? What is this total deletion tag team thing, man?
I think it's called Tag Team Apocalypto, and who knows? Who knows? I know that the whole episode is going to be taking place from their compound. It's not only just going to be this one match. It's going to be matches not involving the Hardys. And also, they have promised that King Maxwell will be making his in-ring debut. I don't know how old Maxwell is, 1 or 2. So, I'm sure that Jim Cornette's going to love this episode.
Oh, without a shadow of a doubt, Jim Cornette is going to hate this. But, I mean, really, in my opinion, I don't think that he can really hate this. It's so creative. And for years, what have we been all asking TNA to do? Hey, stop copying WWE. Be your own entity. Do something original. Give us more than what Vince is giving us. And now they're giving us that in the form of Matt Hardy and in the form of broken Matt Hardy and all the escapades. Even if you don't like the actual match per se, in my opinion, you have to love the creativity and the thought that goes behind it. And the fact, like you said, Matt Hardy is all over social media promoting this total deletion and stuff, man. He is challenging everybody, every tag team that he can think of. He is challenging to come to the compound, man. It's so great. It's so refreshing, and I can't wait for Thursday night. Actually,
yeah, I'm really excited about it. I think it should be fun. So looking forward though, they do not have any other TNA Impact episodes in the can. They won't be doing any new tapings until after the new year. So I don't know if they're going to run a best of over the next couple weeks, or if they're just not going to have any shows on Pop TV. What do you think that with the new regime coming in, do you think that they're going to go more towards the Hardy style, or do you have any predictions of what the new Anthem guys are going to do with TNA as far as the content coming to us fans?
I think if they're a smart businessman, and obviously they are, they didn't get to where they're at in life and in business by being stupid. I think that they're going to look at the numbers first of all before they make any decisions. They're going to look at the numbers. They're going to look at the ratings for this week's episode of TNA for the total deletion. They're going to definitely look at that, and then they're going to look at social media, the numbers of social media, and how many hits and how many retweets. They're going to look at what's trending on Thursday and how long it's trending. And they're going to look at, what the fans are talking about. And then I think if they were smart, they would make their decision based on that. I think that, in my opinion, that they should look at what's been working for them. I think that ever since the whole broken Matt Hardy gimmick has come into fruition, the TNA numbers have steadily increased. So maybe they won't make Matt Hardy, the centerpiece of TNA, but they're going to keep it more to that style. Let WWE have sports entertainment. Let ROH and New Japan have actual pure athletic wrestling. Lucha Underground has, the Survivor style, with Mark Burnett, his style of what he thinks wrestling is. And now we have our own TNA style, where we do have wrestling, but we also have broken Matt Hardy. So, you know, we have something for everybody, and you never know. I think that TNA can be more of the social media wrestling company, where they have a bigger social media influence than WWE and stuff, and where they're trying to really break through that glass ceiling and break down the fourth wall and everything.
Well, cool. I'm going to switch up the third count, the 3 count for us, and going to go with a different question for you. John Cena was the host of Saturday Night Live this past weekend. My opinion, it was an okay show. I don't think that they played as well to his strengths as they could have, because I really think that he can do just about anything and make it entertaining. But it was an okay show. Word is that the ratings for his episode of Saturday Night Live were better than the last time that The Rock hosted Saturday Night Live. Do you think that this is just another stepping stone for John Cena, or do you think that this will give him another big into Hollywood?
I think it's both. I think that as we're starting to see John Cena in the WWE ring less and less, and on TV and other avenues more and more, I think that he can only benefit from doing, you know, things like Saturday Night Live, where he can actually show I'm more than just some big muscle-bound wrestler who can run around and slam other big muscle-bound grumpy wrestlers. You know, this is an opportunity for him to show his personality. Obviously, he's a good-looking guy. Obviously, women love him. Women love to look at him and stuff. He can relate to the average American. Because when he's not in the WWE ring, you know, if you go on YouTube, you'll see videos of John Cena drinking beer. You know, you see videos of him hanging out with regular, ordinary people and stuff. So, you know, of course, there's the Total Divas thing, but even on Total Divas, you can kind of tell John Cena may or may not be somebody that you can drink a beer with and have a good time with. You know, everybody has a bump card, and maybe we're now starting to realize that John Cena is starting to realize that his bump card is almost full. He's been in the WWE, at the top of WWE he's been in WWE for 15 years maybe, and at the top for over 10. 10 plus years at the top of 10 plus years at the top of the card. That's a lot of fun. And it really takes a toll on your body and stuff. So maybe, you know, he's looked at what The Rock and Stone Cold have done and stuff, and Stone Cold has made his movies and he's turned to other avenues and stuff, and then maybe he's looking at what The Rock has done, where he's taken, you know, his professional wrestling and stuff and his good looking, he's gone on to Hollywood and become an action star. Not saying that John Cena is going to become the next Rock or whatever, but if he has half as good of a career as The Rock, he'll still be making $10 million a movie, which is still great. So, I didn't get a chance to watch Saturday Night Live. Obviously, I was on the road in Texas. But, you know, I think that we're starting to see John Cena branch away from the WWE machine and stuff.
All right. Well, just to throw out some news and notes, get a quick opinion. So Linda McMahon has been chosen by Donald Trump to be the head of the Small Business Administration. Any thoughts on that?
First of all, I don't think Linda McMahon has ever actually ran a small business. She is a businesswoman, by all means, and she knows how to run a business, but she doesn't know how to run a small business. By the time her and Vince actually gained power of WWE, or WWF at the time, now WWE, it was already, you know, the top territory in professional wrestling, period. But she does know about business, and she does know what it takes to be successful. You know, I really don't know what to say about her being a part of the cabinet. Congratulations to her, you know, for having her own career. Now we know why they went from PG-14 to PG. Now it's all really starting to make sense, and now we know why Donald Trump is in the Hall of Fame. It really makes sense now, you know. And sometimes it pays to have friends in high places. So, congratulations to her. You know, the jury is still out on Linda McMahon being the head of the Small Business Administration.
And one other thing that I want to briefly discuss before we have our interview. Has been reported that former Chikara Grand Champion Kimber Lee, one of my favorites, the punk rock ragdoll Heidi Lovelace, and New Zealand star Evie have all signed contracts with WWE. Now, we talked about a little bit about who we would like to see in the WWE Women's Tournament that they're going to be doing as a network special. So those are 3 names that have just been added. Not a confirmation that they will be in that tournament, but it's still something really cool. What were your thoughts on that, Will?
I haven't met the lady from New Zealand, but I have met Heidi Lovelace. And I have met Kimberly. Worked with both of those ladies extensively in Atlanta Wrestling Entertainment. I wish them nothing but the best. Them ladies really deserve it. They really busted their asses to get to where they wanted to get to the WWE and stuff. And then not only that, but Kimberly, she's made a reputation of not only wrestling with women, but wrestling men and making it convincing. She is a tough cookie. Not as tough as Casey Carlisle, but definitely in that same mold. I think that I'm so glad that WWE is now signing professional women wrestlers and not models and not cheerleaders and not actresses. They're actually signing women who know what it takes, who have put in the mileage and put in the windshield time, and they're taking the bumps and bruises and they're paid their dues and stuff, and they know how to get over not only as wrestlers but also as performers. Both of those ladies, Heidi Lovelace and Kimberly, besides winning titles all across the country and stuff, these ladies have made a living off of professional wrestling. They sold merchandise, T-shirts, pictures, you name it, they sold and stuff, and they've made a pretty good living for themselves. And now I'm so thankful and I'm glad that they actually have a chance to make an even better living for themselves inside the square circle.
Who do you think out of those 3 names will make an impact the quickest?
I think it's going to be probably Heidi Lovelace. I think that Kimberly might have an issue just because of her height and just because of her style. She has a very hard-nosed, puggish style. She's very stiff in the ring. She's very snug, very stiff, very tight in the ring. And even though she may have more experience working with bigger promotions and she's held more titles than Heidi Lovelace, I think that they're going to have to kind of tone her down a little bit before she's going to be TV ready.
I think that Heidi is going to make the biggest impact the quickest. One reason is because they've already had Evie doing a job on NXT. They've already had Kimberly doing a job on NXT. I think that they saved Heidi because they want to feature her prominently pretty quickly. So I don't think that she's going to be in Orlando too long. At least she's not going to be off one of their TV shows for too long. So
don't get me wrong, Zane. I don't think that any of them are not going to be on TV. I think that all 3 of those ladies, especially Kimberly and Heidi, are definitely going to fit in. They're going to acclimate themselves to the WWE style pretty quickly. I just think that Heidi is going to do it a little faster than Kimberly. Like I said, Kimberly is she works with females, but she also works with male talent also. And like I said, she works a very stiff, striking, almost Japanese style of wrestling and stuff. A lot of suplexes, a lot of very stiff forearms and chops and stuff. And I think that they're going to have to kind of ask her to tone it down just a little bit, because they already have somebody in that spot already. They already have Natalia, who's a hard-hitting suplex machine, and then they have Nia Jax and stuff. So they're going to have to kind of find a way to rebrand Kimberly and stuff, and not necessarily make her softer, but make her easier to work with.
All right. Well, do we want to go ahead and give our guest a call, Kev? And will you introduce all of us, please?
Hello? Hey, am I speaking to the mighty Kong?
No, it's Congo, not Kong.
Congo. I don't know why I said Kong. Congo. Same difference. It's all over.
Good.
Let me give you a proper introduction, man. Ladies and gentlemen, tonight we have a great guest for you tonight. Not only a great wrestler, but a great person in and outside the ring. I met him through one of the greatest seminars I've ever had in my life. This guy has helped me out so much with developing the incredible style of wrestling. Ladies and gentlemen, I give to you the mighty Congo. Congo, how you doing, man?
I'm good. Just dealing with this cold ass weather here in New England.
Yeah, well, now I'm letting you know right now. I'm gonna play with my partner, the Beardzilla, Don Vanderbeard, Zane Paisley, who is an amazing ring announcer out of the Indianapolis, Indiana area. So we're gonna do some back and forth, man. Talk about your career, talk about what you got coming up and stuff, man. You know.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you for coming on, Wildman Kongo. We really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
So, Congo, I'm going to go ahead and ask you straight up for all of our listeners and fans and stuff who have not heard of you. I don't know why, but for the, let's just do the benefit of the doubt. It's been the case for the last year and a half. How did you get into wrestling? Why did you get into wrestling? And who were some of your early influences?
All right. Why did I get into wrestling? Because it's one of the coolest things ever. As a kid, I was just drawn to Hulk Hogan, obviously, for me. I was probably maybe like 4 or 5, I think, when I got into it. But Hulk Hogan was my biggest influence in wrestling as a kid. Then you have, I don't know why, but I was a big fan of Arn Anderson when I used to watch WCW. I thought Sting was cool too, but for some reason I just thought, I don't think he got enough credit for being the workhorse that he was back in the day. But I was drawn to him, and then, him, Eddie, Shawn Michaels, Taker, those guys, like guys that I was drawn to and influenced into getting into wrestling. And then when I lived in New York City growing up, and I was going to go train at Johnny Rogers School in Brooklyn, and then we moved to Rhode Island. My mom decided she wanted to move, and Rhode Island was the state. I've heard of it like twice before that. And then so that stopped me from training for a few years because I didn't know anybody. I didn't know nothing out here. So I did my research. I found Bob Evans, 20 minutes away from my house. I shot him an email. He was like, yeah, come down, check out a training, one of the nights we train, see if it's something you'd be interested in. I went and checked it out. Rest is history, man. I signed up maybe like a week or 2 after that.
Now, so you told you got trained by the well-known Brutal Bob Evans, is that correct?
That is correct.
So did he help you come up with the Wildman Kongo gimmick? Did you have that gimmick from the very get-go, or what other gimmicks, if not, what other gimmicks did you have before you became Wildman Kongo?
This is the only gimmick that I've ever worked under, the only name I've ever wrestled under, and it's funny because while I was training, I was a lot bigger. I'm a big guy, but I was a lot bigger back then. I was pushing almost 4 and change, maybe 5, roughly. And that was bad. But I would go to training, and then they would, like, make fun, not fun of me, but you know how we get as guys, we pull ribs, and they're like, oh, you're going to be our Samoa Joe, you're going to be our Savage of our promotion, because Bob ran a promotion as well at that time called Eastern Pro Wrestling, UPW. And I was like, I'm not doing that. I was like, that's not what I want to do, but whatever. I just kept training, and they would just tease me about it. And then one day, Bob and his assistant trainer came up to me and was like, hey, we want to put you on a couple of shows we're having. You're listening, you're picking up everything great. We want to give you a shot, whether it's a squash or a battle royal or something, and see how it goes. I was like, awesome. They're like, but we want you to do that gimmick we've been teasing you about. I was like, are you serious? They're like, yeah, we're not joking. And so we came up with the name with a couple other guys at the school. Somebody was like, you should be crazy, like that movie Congo, like those gorillas in that movie. And I was like, and they're like, just change the C to a K. And that's how Congo, the name, was created. So with the whole, Congo gimmick and stuff, who do you draw influences from? I'm assuming, Abdullah the Butcher, the Wild Samoans. I could never see a huge Wild Samoan influence every time I see Russell. But who else do you draw influences from, to make it your own? Everything and everyone. Obviously the Wild Samoans, Umaga, but also Vader, Bam Bam, Taker, Shawn, Eddie, Arn, watching movies like the movie King Kong, just anything that shows emotion or shows good versus evil. You can draw influence and you can get ideas from pretty much anything. You can see a movie and then think of it and try to switch it into maybe how you do that in wrestling. Or maybe I see someone take a certain move or the way they sell something, and I'm like, oh, that would look great if we did it here, there, or, what if I did it like this? It pretty much right now, anything can inspire me, or I just watch whatever. Again, movies, promos, interviews, songs. Music is a big thing for me. I don't know about you, but music helps me. Not when I'm about to wrestle, but if I'm in a bad mood or I need to get hyped, if I'm gonna go to the gym or something, music does that for me.
Well, with that being said, this is the Wrestling Nerdcast from the Angry Podcast station. I'm going to pass it over to my co-host, my homeboy, the bearded wonder, Zane Paisley. Zane, what do you have for Congo tonight?
Well, Wildman Kongo, once again, thank you for coming on. You mentioned a lot of high flyers, a lot of technical guys, Shawn Michaels, Eddie Guerrero as being influences on you. You're a big man. Do you prefer to work, where it's big man versus big man, or do you prefer to be the monster and take on smaller acts?
I'd wrestle anyone. I don't have a preference. I challenge myself pretty much when I get in the ring with someone, and especially if they're a unique type of style, or high flyer, or so-called strong style, and all this other stuff. Because I've been told, and I think that's a good compliment that I've been told that I can have a match with pretty much anyone, and I can mix their style and mine and make it something good to watch, or I can blend different styles with my own.
Well, that's great. That's one of the big things in pro wrestling is, guys want to pick a finishing maneuver that they can do on anybody, whether they're taking on 180-pound guy or a 400-pound guy. Have you ever had any issues with people trying to adapt their finisher to what you can do?
Once or twice. I mean, certain guys are not strong enough to hold me for certain things, and so that's part of the game. You got to figure it out, or you got to come up with a plan B, sometimes C or D. So you always got to have stuff in your back pocket, ideas. And again, sometimes you have to call an audible and do something completely out of the box. And as long as it makes sense and it tells, and it's part of a story, and the story is a good story, I don't really think a move. Yeah, the move helps, but I think if you tell the story the right way, it doesn't matter how the match ended, as long as whatever story you're trying to tell, good prevails over evil, or evil today got the upper hand on good,
Oh, yeah. Now, I recently saw a picture of you posted by Steve Wilson, you and Congo Kong together. Was that the first time that you guys had met?
Yes, that was. I was in Cleveland, Ohio, a month or two ago, I believe. I can't remember the date right now. I feel bad that I don't remember the date. But yeah, it was the first time we've ever met. But we know a lot of the same. Sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was going to say we know a lot of the same people, so it was kind of like we knew each other, but we didn't.
Awesome. So did you guys get along? No Congo fights?
No, not at all. We got along perfect. He was a good dude. And we tagged that night. We had a tag match. Us against, it was a handicap match. Us against three other guys, and we picked up the victory. It was fun. Again, that was the first time we met, and we tagged, and it was a good time, and we got the victory. So, win-win,
Excellent. Now, this is the Wrestling Nerdcast. So, what are you nerdy about?
Nah, I'm not a big nerd. I mean, I play video games here and there. I'm a sports guy. I love all types of sports, but comic books, I really didn't grow up on them. I knew about them. I knew superheroes and stuff like that, but I wasn't never too in-depth into the comic book scene and all that. My thing was wrestling and sports.
So you grew up in Rhode Island. Are you a Patriots fan then?
No, I grew up in New York City. I moved to Rhode Island when I was just before I turned 18.
Oh, okay.
And but I'm not a New York fan at all. None of the New York teams are my teams. Believe it or not.
So who are your teams?
All right. Well, I'll give you a list. The Supersonics in basketball, who are now the Oklahoma City Thunder. I was a big Gary Payton and Sean Kemp fan growing up. Football, the Packers, Dorsey Levens and Antonio Freeman and Brett Favre were my dudes growing up. And the Atlanta Braves. I don't know why the Atlanta Braves. Something drew me to them, and it was like 92. I played Little League baseball and all that stuff, but I didn't really start watching Major League Baseball until like 92, 93, and they were dominating the NL East. Maybe that's what drew me to them, but that's my team, the Braves.
Now, ESPN is going to be doing a 30 for 30 on the XFL coming up in February. Did you watch the XFL for the season that it was around?
Absolutely, I did. I think every wrestling fan had to watch it. If not, they felt like they weren't supporting WWE, even though it was two separate things, but it was just his thing. So, yeah, I watched most of the XFL. Yes, I did. Who
was your team for the XFL?
I didn't really have one, but I remember I would watch it because I thought the way they started off the games were cool. Two guys go after the ball, whoever gets the ball, they get the possession. I thought that was cool. The nicknames. So it was a little different. And then I believe they didn't do field goals. If I'm not after the touchdown, I think they had to go for two, if I'm not mistaken. But I can't remember. But I just watched it because it was part of the WWE, WWF at that time. So I just watched it to watch it.
My brother and I were living in Terre Haute, Indiana, which is western Indiana, southwestern Indiana, and we had season tickets for the Chicago Enforcers. So for those 5 home games, we drove up to Chicago and had a great time tailgating at the stadium, and it was awesome. But the thing that threw us, originally, Dick Butkus was supposed to be the coach for the Chicago Enforcers, but they moved him up to the, commissioner or president or whatever the figurehead it was of the XFL. So we got Ron Meyer instead. And, growing up in Indiana, Ron Meyer was the coach of the Colts, not super successful. So that turned us off, but we had a great time watching the XFL.
Yeah, it was something. It was different, and I mean the NFL did steal some things from them. So, kudos to the NFL for upgrading their cameras and all that stuff.
Oh yeah, you're totally right. They totally they made fun of the XFL, but then they stole a lot of their gimmicks. So that's kind of frustrating. So I know that Will's got a couple more questions for you, but before we forget, how do our listeners track you on social media to know where your events are coming up and follow your career?
Absolutely. My Instagram and Twitter are the same. It is Wildman _Kongo with a K. That's my Instagram and my Twitter. I post where my events are going to be on there. I also have my fan page on Facebook, the Wildman Kongo fan page. I update that stuff every other day as much as I can. I put up promos and all that stuff. So, yeah, you can follow me on all those social medias. It's, like I said, the Twitter and the Instagram is Wildman _Kongo, and it's the Wildman Kongo on Facebook.
So, are there any areas of the United States that you haven't wrestled in yet that you're wanting to do in 2017?
Oh, I want to wrestle everywhere, and I want to go back to some places. I was in Seattle a couple months ago. I would like to go to California, just check it out. I didn't get to do that this time. Bob was there a couple days before me in California. I met him in Seattle. We did a tour of the Pacific Northwest, which was beautiful and fun. It was Bob's third time, I believe, my second time up there. I would like to go back to Canada. I was in Vancouver twice this year. I was in Quebec 3 times. I love to go to Florida. I would love to wrestle in Texas. My grandmother lives out there. Hopefully I can get booked out there and she can actually see me wrestle live. That'd be fun. And I'd like to wrestle anywhere else, overseas, Japan, Europe. I want to go to the islands, Puerto Rico, all those. I want to do it all. 2017, and I want to wrestle everywhere and anywhere. So.
Now, when you're in the Pacific Northwest, did you hit up Portland at all?
Yes, that was we wrestled in Portland, Oregon. The last time we were there, we wrestled for NWA Blue Collar Wrestling. We wrestled. They treated us well, and then from there we flew home to Boston right after the event. So we did Seattle. We had a couple shows in Seattle. We had a seminar in Vancouver. It was a 4-day stint, and then the last day was, I think it was Sunday. Yeah, Sunday. We drove 3 hours, about 3.5, not a long drive from Seattle to Portland, Oregon. And we wrestled out there, and then we flew back home that evening.
Now, did you drop any titles in Portland?
No, I did not drop any titles in Portland. I wrestled, and we got robbed. We got cheated. Me and Bob, we were in the tag match. But we'll be back. We'll get our revenge.
All right. Well, speaking of dropping titles in Portland, I'm going to kick it back over to the Incredible Huck, Will Huckabee.
Absolutely. Now, Ed Kongo, speaking of, touring and going to Portland and doing these seminars and stuff, man, for anybody who's done a Brutal Bob Evans seminar, 9 times out of 10, they're going to meet you.
Yeah.
How did that come about, man? When you basically became Brutal Bob's right-hand man when it came to doing the jobs and hanging with Bob?
Well, when I started training with Bob eventually ended up closing down his school to focus on his own career, which was cool. And I completely understood at that time why he did it. And then that's how he got into Ring of Honor and, I've had all the success that he's had. During that time frame, I took a little, I don't want to say break, but I wasn't wrestling as much as I should have. And then Bob gave me a call, like, what are you doing? Like, you're natural at this, you're wasting your talent, you can do so much more. So, he kind of gave me a pep talk. We talked about that talk I had with him over the phone. He cussed me out and all that, but in a good way. But as he's doing his Ring of Honor thing, he started getting more involved at the Ring of Honor seminars. And you know how he is. When he sees something in you, he's going to do everything he can to help you. So he started doing seminars on his own as well. And, he's, hey, you want to come? I can probably get you a booking and, you can help me out with the seminar, just show the people what I'm looking for in the drills and stuff. And then little by little, I just became his assistant, and I'm grateful because I still learn something every time, or I keep my mind fresh and my skills and stuff. I don't train wrestle in my regular matches, obviously, you know that, but that doesn't mean I shouldn't know how to do it or I shouldn't be able to help someone do it. So with the last, I'm going to say 2 years for Bob, the last year, me helping him out with these seminars has been so helpful, and it's just teach me so much, not just, again, in wrestling, but outside. Like Bob says, don't sell wrestling, sell you. I've been able to build my brand tenfold since January 2016, since this year. It's just been a great year. And again, like you said, 9 out of 10 times I am there. And again, sometimes maybe I can help put something in a way that maybe Bob can communicate, or maybe someone doesn't understand the way Bob does it. And you know me, I'm laid back and all that. Maybe the way I do it will help someone out, or they can understand where Bob's coming from,
Yeah, I definitely know, man. Like I said, at the start of this interview, you definitely helped me out, creating, the Incredible Hulk character and stuff, and, fine-tuning different moves and mannerisms and things like that. So with you being on the road, obviously you've learned a whole lot, basically, sitting in the passenger side of what a lot of us call, Uncle Bob. Does that mean that in the future, maybe not next year, but in a couple of years, we're going to see, Hanging with Kongo gets better?
I don't know. I can't say that that hasn't crossed my mind. Or a few people have hit me up, and I've respectfully declined. One, because I feel I'm nowhere near Bob's level as far as teaching or mentoring, you know, I help out the way all the guys in my area help me out. Like I said, Bob used to run a promotion, and he had so many vets in the area that, for whatever reason, I'm glad they took a liking to me, and they would watch my matches and just provide me with feedback and ideas, and I would just take them, and I'm so thankful. I would use them. You know, that's the thing. You can get all the advice in the world, but if you're not going to use it, it's just useless. But, you know, with all the information I get from Bob and meeting new people, promoters, promotions, seeing different states and everything, and I do, again, I don't want to say no, but who knows? You know, maybe. I don't know. I mean, it could happen. It'd be interesting, you know.
Now, here's my next question, man. Because you travel so much, man. You travel to different. There's no telling where we're going to see you at in the coming months and everything. But you get to travel so much, you get to see so many different wrestlers, so many, you know, not only vets, but a lot of young up and coming wrestlers and stuff. You know, we're also, all of us are on social media, and you see, you know, some of the bitter older guys complaining that wrestling is dying and MMA is the new professional wrestling and stuff. But when you go out on these seminars, you go out on these road trips, and you're doing the drives and everything, do you get inspired by what you see? Like, how do you personally feel the state of professional wrestling and indie wrestling, most particular? How do you feel that it's doing right now?
I think it's booming. I mean, there's a lot of guys, that are making a living just wrestling on the indies. It's not easy, no, don't get me wrong. It is not easy. But again, Bob is proof. I'm getting there, but we know so many other guys. Huck, you know a couple other guys that don't do nothing but wrestle. And they sell t-shirts, they sell merch. It's a hustle. But if you're willing to hustle and put your all into it, you can make a decent living off independent wrestling, which a couple years ago was very difficult to do. And now we got so many places where we can work all over the country, outside of the United States. You know, we have Beyond Wrestling back here, AWE where you're at. We have PWG. These are just big independent promotions that guys make decent amount, you know, CZW, all these places that, you know, about a couple years ago, everybody's like, what are these places? But with guys, you know, young guys that are busting their tail every night, every event, hustling, selling t-shirts, whatever, action figures, whatever it is to make a buck. Because, again, it's a hustle. It's a brand. You sell your brand. I mean, not everyone's going to make it overnight. So you have to hustle. If you got to, you know, you got to pay for gas and stuff. You got to figure out a way to do it, you know. And right now, wrestling is hot. Wrestling is so hot. I mean, it's. I don't know if you saw like Pro Wrestling Tees over the Black Friday weekend. So I don't know how many T-shirts with their sale and how many independent wrestlers sold, you know, shirts. A lot. I sold, you know, a few that weekend. I know the Young Bucks sold plenty. I know, you know, so, and these are guys that don't have so-called major contracts with like WWE and stuff like that.
Exactly, man. You know, like you were saying, like me myself, you know, my order and my shirts right now are in the process of being designed and everything, and I'm so mad that I missed the Black Friday, you know, date and stuff. But you're right. There's so many guys who are making money on the indies and stuff. When a long time ago, people thought it was impossible to make money on the indies and stuff. Do you? I'm assuming also, you know, when you're doing these seminars and everything, because we just saw each other at Beyond Wrestling, what, like 2-3 weeks ago?
Yeah, we did. It was
at the studio taping.
Yeah, it was November 11th or something like that, I believe. Yeah.
So we'll say a month ago. We just saw each other about a month ago. And then Kongo walked in there. First of all, he's very humble. But what he's not going to tell everybody is that the majority, there was like 21, 22 matches that were going on that day for the studio taping. Yeah. And I will say at least 15 of those matches walked up to Kongo, was like, hey, look, this is what we're doing for our match. What do you think?
That's a sign of respect there.
Exactly. So, Kongo, when you're in the locker room and stuff, and guys are walking up to you, hey, Kongo, look, man, can I get your advice? we're doing this for the match, or this is what we're thinking about. What do you think? Especially when guys, such as myself who've been in the business just as long as you have, whatever. But when guys are consistently coming to you in the locker room asking you for your advice and your critique, how does that make you feel?
It makes you feel weird at first, and then it makes you feel good because that means all the hard work I've put into myself doing what I do and trying to be a better me has paid off, and people see it and they respect what I can do and my creativity or my storytelling, whatever it is. And it's very weird at first for me. Like I said, when I started doing the seminars with Bob and people after come up and they hit me with all these questions and I provide them with advice, and then a couple of days later I get a message saying, "Oh, thank you that, when you told me this, I did it and it worked out." And so it's humbling, it's awesome, and it's weird, but I look at it like, again, when I started, all the guys that Bob had in his locker room, I would go to them the same way they come to me now, and I still go to guys too sometimes. Most of the time I do run ideas through other guys, like, "Hey, what do you think of this?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I like that." And I'm like, "Cool, so you think that'd be good?" Like, "Yeah." So I do that still to this day. But I just do what was done for me. Return, pay it forward, I guess. Because this art of wrestling, if we don't pass it on, what was passed to us, it dies. You know what I mean? In a sense. So I'm just doing what was done for me when I started. That's how I look at it.
Now, Kongo, before I pass this date, I've got to ask you about this weekend. Before I pass this in, because you'll be at NEW, Next Evolution Wrestling, Elizabeth City, North Carolina. NEW presents the ROH Invasion. You've worked for ROH, but Bob is going to be there, Preston Quinn, Tough Guy Inc., obviously Tim Hughes is going to be there. Myself, I'm making my return to Elizabeth City, North Carolina, where I was the first NEW champion.
Aldo Rose will be there.
Yes, but you are facing Phil Brown, the man who trained Preston Quinn, who trained the NWA National Champion Damian Wayne, who is basically a legend in Virginia wrestling, man. And he's a big, imposing guy who does not skip a day at the gym. I've seen your promo, and, I've talked to Phil because me and Phil are friends. What's going to happen this Saturday, man?
It's going to be a fight. Me going back to the Mid-Atlantic is a little bittersweet. Last time I was there, I lost to MVP, so, I had to go back and clean some things up, and I'm coming back angrier, upset, determined to leave Saturday and Sunday with a victory. So, I know who Phil Brown is. He's met a few times in Virginia. He is a very imposing dude, and he is very talented. I've seen him wrestle. But again, I'm not like no other person. I'm my own thing. When you see Kongo, you know who Kongo is. There's no way to explain it except that's Kongo.
All right, man. Before I pass it to Zay, man, I had to ask you what was going to happen this weekend, man, with you and Phil Brown, because once I heard that match was announced, I was like, oh man, this is going to be a knockout, drag-out fight. But would that be? So I'm going to go ahead and pass it on to Zane and stuff, because I know he has a couple more questions he wants to ask you and everything, all right?
Sure. All right, no problem, man.
All right, Wildman Kongo, you had mentioned about Pro Wrestling Tees, so I checked out your store. Tell me about the No Chill T-shirt.
The No Chill T-shirt. If you go on road trips with Kongo, you will find out Kongo has no chill. Meaning, I don't disrespect anyone, but sometimes I say what's just on my mind. I say how it is. Huck can attest to it. I will say what I'm thinking, but I will say respectfully. Sometimes it comes across as me not giving a damn or something. That's just how I am. And the shirt is inspired. The design is inspired by a rapper that from New York as myself, Action Bronson. One of his albums has him riding a shark, and he has laser beams in his hands and stuff like that. So that my logo kind of was inspired by Action Bronson's album cover.
Well, it looks fantastic. It is awesome.
Thank you.
You've got 5 great shirts on there. So please order some shirts from Wildman Kongo, and if you do because you heard him on this show, make sure to drop them a line letting them know that's why you ordered it.
Please do.
And once again, can you give our listeners your social media information?
Absolutely. My Instagram and Twitter, it is Wildman Kongo. Oh, excuse me, Wildman_Kongo. That's my Instagram and Twitter. It's Wildman_Kongo. And then on Facebook, my fan page is the Wildman Kongo, or just Wildman Kongo. You'll find it'll pop up.
All right. Well, thank you once again so much for coming on tonight. We had a great time talking with you. Best of luck with your events this weekend, and we'd love to have you on again sometime.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me. It was cool talking to you guys. Huck, I'll see you this weekend, buddy.
Yes, man. Are you coming to the Christmas party afterwards?
Sunday?
No, it's Saturday night after the show, Christmas party.
I mean, I'm down.
There you go, man.
I'm down, but hey, you know how Uncle Bob be sometimes. If he wants to go, we gotta go. So
I'm sure I can talk Bob into coming by.
Hey, Kongo, do you have a few more minutes? I've just got one more question to wrap up the podcast.
Sure.
It's a group question. You want to participate in it?
Absolutely.
Excellent. All right. So earlier this year, I had the opportunity to pick up the living legend Larry Zbyszko from his hotel room and drive him about an hour and a half to the event, and then back afterwards. He got on me about the music that I was listening to in my car. He kept yelling at me that he wanted to hear some Eagles. So you guys are driving around the car a lot. I know, Will, you just did your big trip to Texas this past weekend. What are some great road songs for you? And Will, we'll start with you.
Some great. See, I'm not the average wrestler guy. I think I'm like the Mick Foley of the Indies now, because I've been told I have horrible taste in music.
You just listen to Tori Amos Christmas songs?
No, man. I listen to a lot of like either 80s hair bands or like 70s disco. If I'm not listening to like wrestling podcasts or whatever, I'm listening to like, you know, Gloria Gaynor or Sly the Family Stone or
I can dig that.
Or I'm listening to like Zeppelin or Queen or Guns N' Roses, you know, something hard. That's like during the daytime I'm listening to, you know, 70s disco and 80s hair bands. And then at night, you know, there's 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning, and it's just you, and you're the only car on the highway, and everybody else in the car is asleep. Then I'm listening to like 60s and 70s old school R&B.
You trying to make love? That's what you trying to do.
I've been told I have like the worst role. I'm like the worst person around the road trip with when it comes to music, because unless like what's that girl that sings the Chucky girl that sings It's All About That Bass?
I don't know who she is.
Meghan Trainor.
Unless it's like Meghan Trainor. Then I listen to like Meghan Trainor or something like that, like something very poppy. So, like, fans, if you're like on 95 or I-40 and you see a 290-pound black guy like bobbing his head and whatever, and he's all like doing the hand motions, it's probably me listening to Meghan Trainor.
No, I mean, for us, it's different. I mean, it depends on, usually the driver's in charge of the radio most of the time, but you know, we either listen, like you said, wrestling podcasts or those improv podcasts, the comedy ones. If not, it's usually 80s and 90s music. Anything in between that, it's usually what we're listening to. And if I'm in the car and everyone's sleeping, for me, I put on some bachata and I jam out in Spanish. So, you know, so that's just me. When everyone's sleeping in the car and I'm the one driving, I usually put that on and I sing in Spanish while I'm driving. I ask Bob, he's woken up to me singing. He just looks at me and goes back to sleep.
You know my guilty pleasure? You know my guilty pleasure is, Zane?
No.
The only thing I like, my guilty pleasure, and it's only when it's just me in the car, is that I listen to talk radio. But I listen to like Republican right-wing talk radio if it's just me in the car.
Oh my goodness!
Like Rush Limbaugh, Glenn Beck, The Great American. Like
who would have thunk it?
I listen to a lot of right-wing Republican radio.
I can see that. That's totally you. Huh? No, but that's what we listen to. I mean, unless I mean, every once in a while we'll put in some boy bands. I don't care what anybody says. It's funny and it's fun singing with all the guys in the class, some boy bands, because you'd be like, oh, I don't feel as bad now knowing that growing up. You know what I mean?
Oh, yes. Joe Black has a video of me singing Backstreet Boys.
Yeah, there's a bunch of video of me singing Backstreet Boys somewhere. Yeah, that's what we do. And then most of the time, if we're not listening to music, Huck, for me, I bounce ideas off Bob's dome, and he does the same to me. And it'd be 6 hours of just us thinking of ideas to make something better for us or for other people. Or if we met someone that weekend that we're like, wow, what if, that kid that we saw, man, I think if he did this, he can make a run or do something with, you know what I mean? So that's what a lot of the road trips is for me with Bob, is just a lot of back and forth conversation and throwing ideas and stuff, which is, I'm grateful to have him to bounce ideas off, because some are good and some are not so good. So let me know.
Awesome. Well, I've learned a lot about you two tonight. Huck, we've been doing this together for years now, and I don't know if I've got a new appreciation for you or what this feeling is, but I appreciate you being vulnerable with me and our listeners.
Anytime, man. Anytime.
All right. Well, we've got to wrap up. I will be at WCWO this Friday night in Indianapolis, Indiana, announcing another great card. I do want to mention that our buddy Drew Skills will be on Friday night. He will be at a big show in Melvindale, Michigan. A bunch of great people on this card. The Soul Shooters, which is Drew Skills and Apollo Q Star, versus the Party Monsters, which I know Mysterious Movado, one of our friends, is going to be there. Jack Thriller is going to be there. Inspirational wrestler in front of the show, Zach Gowan, will be there. Nate Madsen, who's been on the show recently. And I'd mentioned her earlier in the show, the CMLL Reina International Champion, Heidi Katrina, will be taking on one of my favorites, the lady wrestler extraordinaire, Thunder Kitty. So big show featuring.
I love Thunder Kitty.
You like Thunder Kitty?
I love Thunder Kitty. She's awesome.
Well, I see big things for her in the future because WWE has been picking up all this female talent. Even if she's not part of that crew, it opens up more possibilities for her to get bigger and bigger bookings. And I think that once her name gets out there, once her work gets out there a little bit more, she will be highly in demand. I know that she's had some tryouts with ROH, but I see big things in her future.
Yeah, that's where I met her. It was in, I want to say Tennessee, if I'm not mistaken. Tennessee or Michigan, I met her, and she had a match, and I thought she was awesome. It was like a throwback gimmick, and I loved every bit of it.
Oh, and she totally, when she is in front of fans, she lives that gimmick. It's great.
That's why I love it,
Yep. All right, where are you going to be this weekend there, Mr. Huck?
Well, this weekend, like I said earlier in the podcast, I interviewed this Saturday. I will be at Next Evolution Wrestling, NEW, in Elizabeth City, North Carolina, making my huge return to Elizabeth City. I haven't been there in almost 2 years. It'll be a year and 10 months since I've actually wrestled in Elizabeth City. From what I heard, it will be myself and somebody I've looked up to since I've gotten into professional wrestling, Diamond Victor Griff, taking on Tough Guy Inc. That's right. Kongo, Tucker Mentor, Brutal Bob, and Tim Hughes will get a taste of what it feels like to be in the ring with the Incredible Hulk. I've already said Kongo already knows what it's like to be in the ring with me. We've already had a match down in Atlanta. So now I feel like he's going to try to give Bob some tips on what to do and what not to do in the ring with me.
I may have already. You don't know.
But yeah, that's all I have going on this weekend. I was supposed to be at the show, and I think that Kongo has gotten a reprieve. I think that he did a lot of praying, kind of like Mr. One Drew Skills. He did a lot of praying this week. I was supposed to be at the show Sunday facing Kongo, but due to circumstances beyond my control, I can't attend that show this week. So for this week, it'll just be Saturday in Elizabeth City.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you guys so much for another great show. Thank you to our awesome producer, Killer Kev, on the 1 and the 2s. Thanks to the Angry Marks Podcast Network. And Will and Wildman Kongo, stay nerdy.
Thank you. Happy holidays, guys.